As we are approaching the top of the hour here, you are taking a live look over Jamaica, where Hurricane Melissa is inching closer to making landfall. Now, the storm maintaining its powerful Category 5 status. We told you Monday that officials there reported at least 3 storm-related deaths during the preparations. That number sadly could rise. We know that catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding and landslides are forecast throughout the day as the tropical storm force winds and conditions have already been impacting parts of the island. I do want to bring in Matthew Samuda. He is Jamaica's Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change to talk more about this. And Matthew, I know you're very busy, so thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
Good morning, Josh. Good morning to you viewers.
Of course. And first off, I did just want to ask you what the situation is like there right now in Jamaica, because we've seen a lot of the live images and it looks like the waves are moving fast and you do have water kind of flowing in some of the streets, it looks like.
So on the eastern half of the island, we are experiencing tropical storm conditions. At about an hour ago, I was updated that the sustained winds at the Norman Manley International Airport were at about 39 miles an hour. The sustained winds in Montego Bay, which is on the northwestern end of the island, are about 40 miles an hour. I'm sure that it is continuing to increase steadily as Hurricane Melissa draws closer to landfall. But we are seeing gusts at particular parts in the country, not sustained winds just yet, but gusts of wind above hurricane level strength. It is at the center of our rainy season. October is traditionally the wettest month in Jamaica, so we've had rain for the past 3 weeks or so, on and off. But over the last 3 or so days, we've had sustained rainfall associated with outer bands and squalls associated with Hurricane Melissa. So you're seeing very saturated ground, which is going to lead to flooding in low-lying areas. It is going to lead to rivers being, forming a state of spate, and they will rise. So we are anticipating flooding. It is why the government would have moved to implement evacuation orders in some areas that we know will be faced not just with traditional flooding, but with the 17-foot storm surge associated with this particular storm. These areas are at particular risk. When you add 17 feet of storm surge to 30 to 40 inches of rain to 170 mile an hour winds, it's a perfect catastrophe. So we are encouraging citizens to use any of our 800 shelters, the shelter nearest to them, and to heed the warnings of the government. The time that they're able to evacuate is indeed coming to an end. We won't be able to send out our police or defense force or the fire department to assist beyond a point where it's safe for them to do so. But we have been in, I think, open dialogue with the population over the last 10 days as this storm has been moving particularly slowly at 1.1 mile an hour. It's now up to 7 miles an hour in terms of its forward movement. But it's been a very slow moving storm. So we've been having a conversation with the public for the better part of the last week, perhaps week and a half.
Can you explain to me how this storm kind of compares to other storms, hurricanes, tropical systems that have hit Jamaica?
So I'm not aware of a Category 5 storm ever hitting Jamaica, certainly not within my lifetime, or not within the lifetime of my parents. We've had, direct hits from a Category 3, which was Hurricane Gilbert 37 years ago. We've had, Hurricane Ivan in 2004 affect us badly, with Category 4 strength winds. We would have experienced Category 4 strength Beryl last year, which didn't come on land, but we certainly got the brunt of its strength in the southwestern part of Jamaica. So Jamaicans aren't new to tropical cyclones. We've been through hurricanes and tropical storms. I'd say every 12 to 18 months we face one, and we do face the sorts of winds associated with it from time to time. This one, however, is very different. It's a very slow-moving storm in terms of its forward movement, which means it will be over Jamaica. It has already affected Jamaica's weather for the past 72 hours, certainly with rainfall, which is unique. Usually within 72 hours, you be rid of a storm. This is unprecedented, so we expect unprecedented levels of rainfall. Now, if you contemplate where a Hurricane Ivan or Hurricane Beryl would have affected us in terms of where we would have, tracked gusts, you may have had gusts at 160, 170 miles an hour, but never sustained winds. So to have sustained winds at 170 miles an hour with gusts up to 240 miles an hour as tracked by the National Hurricane Center is indeed a frightening prospect. You layer that in with a 17-foot storm surge in a country where 5 kilometers from the sea, 70% of the population resides. You understand the scale of risk that we indeed face. Our south coast tends to be the major population center, although albeit, thank God, the southeast is where majority of the population is. But our countrymen in the southwest of Jamaica would have dealt with the worst of Hurricane Beryl just last year. Our agriculture sector is just recovering. Our infrastructure is not yet completely restored. So to go through a storm which is now stronger, which will sit on top of Jamaica longer than a Hurricane Beryl is not, we're not in a happy place this morning. We're certainly in a place in need of prayer, a place in need of support after this is all over.
When you talk about the fact that the storm, again, we are talking hours away from making landfall there in Jamaica. When you talk about some of the storm surge, things of that nature, evacuations, you touched on this already, but is it too late for folks to evacuate right now if they maybe haven't yet?
It depends on where they are. And they'd have to follow the guidance of the local disaster response team. So those response teams are made up of our local parish councils, which would be your municipal councils in the States. It includes the fire department, the Jamaica Defense Force, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, our Ministry of Labor and Social Security. They'd have to follow the guidance, right? Because ultimately there are places now that may not be safe to evacuate. The time may already have passed for that. But certainly in the northeast of the island, the north central and northeast of the island, they will not be experiencing the sort of weather conditions that makes it too dangerous to evacuate now. So if they are in an area where the government has asked them to do so, we strongly recommend that they do. If they're unsure of the strength and resilience of their housing or their safety option, we'd also recommend that they go to shelters.
And we're looking at some of the live images that are coming in, several of them from Sea Jamaica, but you can see those waves. You can also see what looks like some damage there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Not sure if that is from the storm, but conditions definitely deteriorating at this point.
And all of those images are from the southeast of the island. So apart from the one with the river, which is obviously in Spate, which is in St. Catherine, the other images are indeed from Kingston, Jamaica. So we'd expect that the weather situation and what's facing the southwest of the island, which is in the direct path for landfall of the eye of the storm, and as it inches closer to it, we'd expect that the weather conditions on the southwest of the island are much worse than what you're seeing on stream there.
How are you and other officials there making sure that there's timely, accurate information that's reaching the public, especially when you're talking about rural, remote areas or the potential for power outages?
So Jamaicans, they do like their radio, right? Jamaican people still listen to live broadcasts on public radio. And we have encouraged citizens over the last 10 days to take notifications from official sources through reputable news channels. We have seen, like other countries, a proliferation of fake news through social media and other online sources. We've been at pains to remind citizens to listen to the Met Service, listen to the Office of Disaster Preparedness, listen to the police, listen to the Prime Minister's account, listen to your Minister's of Government account on where things are. We're already seeing videos circulating, which are from former storms, not necessarily from the current reality. And that serves no one's interest because it could convince someone not to evacuate because they may believe somewhere is unsafe when it is not yet reason for them to have that concern. So we're asking Jamaicans, and certainly Jamaicans in the diaspora, to follow your official news sources. Listen to reputable media, because this is not the time for silly mistakes because someone shared something, some stupid TikTok. Please stick to official news sources. It is an incredibly dangerous situation, but if we're smart and we follow the instructions and we follow the guidance, we can get through it.
What message do you want to leave your residents there in Jamaica with? What message do you want to make sure gets across to them now as the storm does get closer to landfall?
Shelter in place if you're in somewhere secure. If you're not in somewhere secure and aren't able to get to a shelter now. Be smart, be kind to your neighbors, and of course, a prayer never hurts.
All right. Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Anything you want to add? Anything we left out before I let you go?
No, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to certain members of our diaspora who live in the States. We do want to encourage them to stay in touch with family, to also encourage their family to follow the official guidance. And certainly we're going to need support, technical and otherwise, post Hurricane Melissa. So we thank you for bringing attention to what Jamaica and Jamaicans face.
Of course. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Please, please stay safe out there.
Thank you so much.